Should be that. Should be good there. Right. Okay. So it's Tuesday. It's Liquid Sky Day. It is time to make progress on these tasks finally. So over the weekend we added the ability to assign to create a team and assign that team to a user. So that should be able to run. And we should be able to run this. Oh, get that started up. Do it that way. Come on. We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay. So that should be working. Localhost 4200. I didn't think about this. I should have checked this. I did the merges and the first thing I should have done is start the app up and make sure everything's back to normal. So we added the ability to add teams. We go to users. We can go to Fred and assign teams. So now Jeffrey is on alpha and quantum, and Fred is on alpha. The rest have no assigned team. That's fine. So now we can move that forward. That is the goal. However, I want to start with an organizational piece first before I actually go too far down. So the next task up is to introduce team. So modify the domain model for tasks to include an assigned team field, should be nullable as the assigned user, and define an add field script for migration. Right. Expanding Cuba, hello. How you doing? So to do this, basically what we're going to do. How did you manage that one? Just stayed up too late. Was it for something good? So assigned user is a field here. Like risk of rain for 6 hours. I I can I would be lying if I said I'd never done that. We need to move that there. We have an organizational problem. So I want to test something. I want to create a new file. Task.behaviors. Okay. Cancel that. Make this partial. Make this live there. Go here. Make this partial. Okay. I want to move this out of there to here. Why does that not? Is that just a okay? That's just a namespacing problem. Yeah, we'll worry about that later. That's a different challenge entirely. Um, why is associated? Okay. Are you having issues now? Oh, it's because writers are confused by what I just did. Yeah, I wish. uh, Well, no, I don't wish I could say. I love playing games, so I completely get a 6 hour game thing. I actually spent uh many hours this weekend playing Gran Turismo. Got a lot of racing in. Now, what I want to do is how do I nest? I want to use the tooling to help me a little bit. Um, I just can't remember what it's called. Ah, there we go. It is nesting. Oh, come on, but it changes it's the CS project that supports it. Someone's created a tool, but let's see if actually someone's created a plugin before we do it. Uh, nesting. File group. Grouper. No. Editor groups. No. No. So what it is add. I'm just checking to see if there's anything that actually supports it out of the box because that'd be awesome, but it doesn't. So we go and edit the project. There's a way of doing this. There's basically, hmm, yeah. But the problem is modern CS proj files don't use that format. Morning, daughter. Or don't require that, right? So again, I can do oh, yeah. Um, wrong day. Come back again. The gym today was better. My training was trying harder. Just told him I'm not continuing next year earlier. Full controllers. Oof. Mm. I'll experiment with that later. Either way, what I was trying to do, it'd be nice if I could just do that. Oh, I can do that. Okay, that's awesome. There we go. Lesson learned. Um, I wanted to start breaking out um this to try and keep these a little cleaner and a little bit more organized. So I'm experimenting. Let me ask you a bit of advice. I use Azure currently. There we go. Okay, so that's that. Now, does it give me any? Assume he's typing. Typing. But for UI, their static apps is just absolute trash. You need SSR, but it's impossible to buy another service for UI. Better to deploy to another service. Um, what's use the static apps, but um, questions. So, um, I haven't got enough experience with Azure to give you enough insight there. Um, gonna say you're gonna hit the same sort of problem zone no matter what platform you go to. Uh, but so right, yeah, because it's static sites. So, but an app service would support that, right? So why not build the client as an app service and then I know you're not getting the benefit. The static sites benefit is giving you that it's going to be cheaper and yeah, but you're going to need something to process the backend. That's the problem. Um, because that's the point, right? It needs something to process. That's the cost. Um, AWS is going to be a um, similar thing where you're going to deploy. Um, AWS and Azure are pretty different in their makeup, I don't know. Yeah. Um, how would you do that? So I don't know enough about the other offerings, to be honest, to be able to give you any solid advice there. Because realistically, what you're looking for is the cheapest equivalent of app service, right? Whether that be GCP or AWS. You need something. I mean, you could try and run a very small um, free instance on a AWS. Actually, hold on. Is I'm just checking my Azure portal because I do host um why do I need a welcome to Microsoft that get off. Oh, they changed the Azure portal. Awesome. I probably need to change some stuff here. Oh no, it logged me into the wrong account. $50 a month. That's. I'm just checking what I pay. App service plans. So don't tell Microsoft. Um, I mean, what sort of traffic are you putting through this? Is this um yeah, don't tell Microsoft, but Microsoft haven't realized that I don't have a Visual Studio subscription anymore. It just dawned on me that everything I have is under a Visual Studio subscription that I don't own, that I don't have anymore. I was just trying to check the cost. Yeah. Yeah, so the site is costing me, yeah, okay, about $50 a month. Hey, Bots One, how you doing? Yeah. How can you? I'm trying to look at the costs on my stuff because I do run an app service. Um, page you go overview. Yeah. Oh, in that case, why did you choose Azure? Why if it's personal? I mean, again, the problem is you need resources. So that's not going to change. Well, right now the goal is get an SSR app running, right? So the app service is going to be the only way I know of doing that because you're going to need server resources. So yeah, I wish I could be more helpful. Dons. Um, yeah. Anyway, okay, let's get this up and running. So um, today um, I am going to be adding the team assignment to um, gotcha. So using one of the actual providers. Um, let's see if this gets in here. So yeah, I'm going to be assigning the teams to tasks today. That's the goal. So like a task like this would be assigned a team, and that team would then be the first level of assignment. So we are doing that. If you are new to the stream and you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Sorry. The Angular app. Well, the Angular app is all clients anyway. I don't use any SSR for that. But right now, all this is deployed to a Kubernetes box. So for me, it's cheaper to buy a $400 AMD mini PC with 32 gig of memory and a terabyte hard drive and deploy it there for right this second. Yeah. I mean, I haven't even played with SSI yet. I have no idea why. Blazor is right now still breaking my brain. Um, yeah, goodness knows what's going to happen when it comes time to deploy this as a production application. Got to figure that out, but baby steps. So, um, what I'm doing here, modifying the domain model. I'm experimenting a little bit with how I'm managing the files here, and um, um, so they're cloud. That's not terrible. I mean, AWS's free tiers are pretty allowing as well. It might be worth investigating. And I still think there's free tiers on app services. That if you're doing it for hobby and you're not needing the load, I still think you can probably move it to an app service. I don't. I'm not sure. Light sale. Yeah, I'm not sure. Without spending an entire stream looking through the resources. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to introduce a assigned team, update assigned team yet on this. Um, it's funny. I was watching I was watching the C sharp, what's next in C sharp talk this morning. I fell asleep last night. I missed it, but they were introducing they're introducing some stuff, and it made me think about the partial class more. And I thought, hold on, I can that might not be a bad organizational technique because I've been struggling with how I want to organize this code for a while. So it just kind of triggered, it inspired me a little bit to think about this. So that's why I'm doing this morning. But they also introduced their new field thing, right? Um, and it made me consider what will happen. Um, what I've been discovering today. Possibly. I don't know what my day looks like yet. Um, um, yeah. So one of the things that I've been the reason these are used as backing fields is because I don't want you to be able to set these. Um, because I don't want you changing the value of them without having a reactive an event triggered. right? Well, coming in .NET in C Sharp 14, basically what I could do here is public GUID assigned team. We'll just leave it like that for a second. And I can do in C Sharp 14 um, something like this, where that field equals value, and then on domain event, trigger domain event, right? So I can wrap up the entire behavior behind properties and allow you to set the values when you need to, which means from a readability perspective on the other side, it's much cleaner. Um, um, and I don't have these methods that I have to create just to make sure I wrap domain events around them. I could still do this with gets and sets now, but it does mean I can still have the backing fields and stuff. But I am contemplating what this looks like. Because then you could use the object in the way you would normally use the object in the other side, and I don't have to create explicit methods. Um, so it got me thinking again. It got me thinking like things I could achieve now, things that might be simpler in C Sharp 14. Um, Microsoft Build has 307 sessions. Yeah. My biggest gripe with Build is the AI focus. I get AI. I get the focus of what we do now. I get that it's something we cannot ignore. The in-person sessions don't have more of the non-AI content. So I only have 5 sessions added to my calendar, two of which I've missed already, and 3 of them are AI based. So, but just enough to kind of get an idea. But it is what we do these days. There's some cool stuff. There's some they've added the extension type is interesting. I don't think it's quite where they aimed to be. I maybe missed where they were talking about it, but I don't think it's quite where they intended it to be because they pulled it back from C Sharp 13. Um, yeah, there's a lot of good presenters though in that schedule. I'd look through. I've added for reference. I've added today. I've put on my calendar unpacking the tech, which is um, just a wander through again a kind of summary. Um, dig deeper into the news announced on day one with a focus on the role developers play in helping enterprises successfully embrace AI. So I've got that on the schedule for today, this keynote level. And then Gen AI for enterprise, intelligent apps and agents with Dataverse and MCP. MCP is something I want to get an idea about how that might be usable. I added 3 tomorrow, so I actually lied. I added a few more than I thought. Elevating development with .NET Aspire, AI, Cloud, and beyond. So figuring out how AI hooks into Aspire, that's going to be. I added that because I was interested in the why. um, and then yet another highly technical talk with Hanselman and Tobe. That'll be on. If it's got Stephen Tobe, it's going to be parallelism of some form, I would imagine. But that's an hour session tomorrow, and that's got Scott Hanselman in it, and you shouldn't avoid Scott Hanselman talks because they're always good. And then the future of web development with ASP.NET Core and Blazor tomorrow. I think that's a useful one to have on there. Ooh, I did way more than I thought I did. I must have gone kind of happy. And then build on Thursday, build the next gen of AI apps with .NET models, data agents, and more. And then another Scott Hanselman talk. So which will be AI. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So we've added a field, right? Assign team identifier. What I need to do there is go to configurations and tasks, and I need to map that. The reason being, I really need to decide whether I'm going to alphabetize or prioritize. Um, this is what gives Entity Framework the backing property. So it knows that this property is going to be used for this. So it doesn't try and set this, it gets and sets this value, and it knows this property is exposed, because this is how Entity Framework will normally map its properties, right? It'll default to looking at the properties on the object, the public properties on the object, and use them to get the data, to push the data to. But this way, I can have a private backing field that you can't change with a public getter, and it will allow me to control access to this thing. Okay. Break out task model entity update. It's break out behavior as partial class. Okay. Okay. State the problem before describing. After several years of writing papers in computer science, I discovered the basic expository rule embodied in the title of this note. It's obvious. Seldom observed. What got you on that? Someone linked this in a discussion on how to get consensus in a group that constantly bike sheds. Problem, requirements, solution, proof of concept. Is that the general gist? So, yeah. Goal, problem we're solving, what we expect to come out of that, and then solution. Yeah, I mean, so teams, if you get a bunch of people in a room, they will quickly move to solving the problem without understanding the problem, or without stopping and thinking about the problem. Um, um, okay. Yeah, it's since it can take months or over a year to figure out what you don't like in any direction. Yeah. Well, people are people have different perspectives. An architect, I've always felt, well, I've felt for the longest time. I can't say I've always felt, right. No absolutes. I should learn better from one line. Um, the I've felt for a long time that any amount of architecture you have, any design you have, should be fluid, right? It shouldn't be wishy washy. It shouldn't. It should still be opinionated where necessary, um, but it should be uh, capable of change. Not necessarily ready to change, but capable of change. Which comes with trying to write a system that is consistent, is clear, is uh, broken down as much as possible. Because the bigger, if you think about it, the bigger the system gets, the more complicated the logic becomes, the more fear there is of change, and the harder it is to change something. So an architectural talk um, that solves too many problems um, up front, often you'll find, um, yeah, if you try and solve everything up front and you don't lean into that evolution, you're more rigid and less willing to change later on. I don't mean to make you so self-conscious about your words, just a fan about being a little bit more mindful. um, I think you should be conscious of the words you use, and absolutes like that suggest that I've never changed my opinion. So that's why I felt to correct that one, because it is true. It's an evolved opinion, right? Um, we need to, just the same way as this, right? Like to Dota's comment of, um, it can take months or a year to figure out what you don't like in a new direction. If architecture feels stinky, then evolve, right? Change what you need to change to make the architecture less stinky, but keep the. Is this all just because I opened it? Yes. I changed it to a partial class. It broke Ryder's brain. Right. Okay, so we're not doing the updates in this part. Um, so yeah, I feel it's I appreciate the thought though. One line, like the mental check on myself to say, do I want to speak in an absolute there? Was it hyperbole? Is that what that would be to say I've always felt that? A figure of speech in it which exaggeration is used for emphasis or effect is in, yeah. I've always felt like it's hyperbole, right? Hyperbole. Hyperbole, sorry. I think I've been affected by other pronunciations of that. You know, I didn't I wasn't born and thought, you know what? Architecture should change. um and I didn't become a developer and think architecture could change because I didn't have a concept of architecture, right? I had a concept of I build things and I write the code and it makes pretty things on the screen. Yeah, let's move that over to done. I realized that I've moved that to complete, yet I haven't done any PRs or anything like that. that entire workflow is something that I want to work through. Statuses in general are something that I really want to visit and evaluate the use of. Um, what I want to do there is say that that piece is done, and ultimately get to like GitHub integration. But there's so many things. Okay, so now we get to the actual implementation of that. We're going to need to assign a team to a task. Update the team endpoints to receive an assigned team. Do not remove the assigned user field from the update, but do from the add. Update the relevant components to capture the assigned team. If there's a need, break out the code to a domain service and leave change detection in the application service. Update integration event for task to include assigned team identifier. So in this case, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is the team sat down, the team's generally talked about what needs to be done, and these are the bullet points, right? This should give me enough prompts to get to where I need to be. And this should give me enough feel, not fear. I almost said fear then and went into feel. Enough feel as a developer with knowledge of the code base to accurately estimate it, right? Hopefully, in the not too distant future, I do get to the point of showing the estimation the way that I see it being used in terms of actual calculation of accuracy and consistency, rather. Okay, so let's go. And what I do there, by the way, might not impress some people because it might be like, whoa, why are you doing this? I'm not going to create a new branch. I'm not going to do a PR for. I've done the domain model. I'm breaking up the task this way deliberately. As as I go forward with the project, as I go forward with the tasking, etc., I may reevaluate these and be like, okay, well, that's part of the same. It's never part of a different branch. Therefore, let's make that a one stage, right? I'm going to change the model, then I'm going to do the functionality. But I'm trying to break it down from a readability perspective. Yeah. So update team endpoints to receive an assigned team. Do not remove the assigned user field from the update, but do from the add. So what this is on tasks. We have put and post. So there's our create. And we are going to remove assigned user identifier from the add because we're not going to assign a user to any task immediately. It's going to be assigned to a team, and then and this is an opinionated flow. I am of the opinion that you should not assign it immediately to a user the moment you create it. You should assign it to the team and let it go through the normal flow. That is going to be where the application starts to become more opinionated on the workflow. Yes, a developer might want to go in and add a task. We'll talk about adding a task to the current sprint later. That might be a case where you need it. But even then, it's going to be assigned to the current sprint, which means its team will be inferred and it will go into ready for development. And then when they drag it into in progress, it'll be assigned to them anyway. So again, trying to be subtly or not so subtly forceful on encouraging people to think about what they're actually trying to do. So this involves changing a little bit more than this, right? So let's validate. I don't think we have any tests around add. We do. Okay, so when adding a task and no user is assigned, now it is invalid. Mr. Jones, good afternoon. Hope you are well. So when adding in a task and no user is assigned, this is invalid now because we're not going to change this. Now, this is one of those scenarios where I can't change the test. I can't change the test before I change the code and then make the code changes very easily. The test won't test anything and it will be very broken. So let's do this. And no team is assigned. Let's do this again, changing styling, changing practices and standards as I go. I'm trying to find a good balance, and I understand that it's going to make for an inconsistent code base, but this is why I'm trying to evolve the standards. Right. Repository. Subject. Read only. Right. We can't do that one yet, so that's fine. And that's part of a range anyway. We can do this now. Task, await, async, await. When you have when your domain conflicts with your language, that will be set. Okay, so no team is assigned, but I've got assigned user because I need to change this. So obviously, assigned team identifier equals null. Still debating whether I need to check the user because I'm explicitly adding that. Task created domain event is queued, so the outcome is the same, but this becomes right. I'm being very careful not to rename this. Assigned team identifier. When you create a task, we assign the team. Which means that when we run this one, it should just work. I think. This one isn't breaking because it's got an actual value there. This test should fail now. By design, that should fail. And team is assigned. Let's do the same refactor there. Again, if you are new to the stream, this can be a little confusing. You're more than welcome to ask questions. So I'm relying on this one breaking deliberately to prove that the changes have been effective. This other one won't fail. Do I want result or do I want task? Result or task? I mean, it's yeah. Let's go with task. What we're doing there is we're setting the effect of the add to validate that we captured something when we called add. Okay. Task application, tasks, add task. So this is now assigned team identifier. That's fine. Now let's run those tests and we should get failures. Do we get failures for the right reason? Now is the question. When no existing team associations. What? Yeah, not failing on the thing I wanted to fail on. Okay. Oh, phew. Okay. Why are you failing on something that shouldn't fail? Want task to fail? There we go. 25 tests. What? What I wanted to fail. Woohoo. Oh, I know why. That's why. So this is an object builder. Basically, when you create a class that has a private constructor, you can't just go and say new one of these when you want an instance of one of them, right? So if you're trying to emulate having an object come from the database, you can't just do that. So the object builder, what that does is it uses the private constructor and it assembles the object, but you need to give it all the parameters that it might need. So this will set the properties and the parameters. So this object builder took a little while to get right, but it will go and look at the backing field and find the backing field for every property and then map that field. So it'll set all the values that you pass in, and it will pass the constructor any of the parameters that it's got, etc. Not exactly the cleanest code I've ever written, but it does work. So this will give you an instance of an object given these anonymous object properties. But it does mean that you end up with a little bit of a confusing behavior. This will be the same thing. Sprint is up. So what was the other test that was failing? Was it all in there? Yeah, okay. Okay. So when adding a task, this should not work. Creative assign user. So, oh no, because that will be that. This would fail. Right? That's the failure. Because I'm checking assign user. Yeah. The way I did it, it's not going to fail. So assigned team identifier. Assigned team identifier. Yeah. Okay. Now that should pass again. Okay. Now we change this side of things. Phil Samuel, hello. How you doing? Okay. So that's changed the API. That's changed the create, as noted. Update the team endpoints to receive an assigned team. Do not remove the assigned user field from the update, but do from the add. So that's the add side of things captured. Yeah. Update task add ass. Uh, update task add or team assignment. That's what I was thinking of. Remove assigned user when creating task. That's a deliberate act. Updated tests. Um, Required. Commit that. Yeah. So we're getting there. This little stuff, like adding fields in here and there and stuff, it might seem to take a long time, but obviously I'm chatting about it, I'm going through it, I'm tinkering with stuff, and obviously I'm changing things as well. But this is trying to set the good groundwork for the pieces that come next, so we can kind of filter and plan better and associate the objects better, and then my goal is to get this sort of stuff done. Now, I wanted this done. I wanted a version of this available in June. That was my goal at the beginning of the year. Several things have come up since then, which have meant that that probably isn't going to happen. But I do want this version with the teams, team association, and the new planning view done by June. So my goal is very much to get this done this week, get it out and ready. Potentially push this actually, because I think going through the cycle of updating every couple of weeks is probably a more helpful thing. But by the end of the month, to have the full planning and team assignment stuff in there, and then I can start doing more on the. I want to spend some time going through the concept of notifications, which is going to be a massive component. But I think that's where the MVP starts to shine through. Right now, this is basically Trello, right? Um, like Trello. How does my daughter put it? Uh, Budget edition or Walmart edition, I think. So, but yeah, trying to add more features. Okay, so on the update side of things, things are a little different, right? Um, we would want to potentially assign to a different team. A task does not necessarily need to be assigned to just a user. Do we want to validate that that user is a member of that team? Probably. Um, and now the cracks start to show, right? I made a very basic assumption. We didn't the team didn't talk through this, right? And this is the benefit of having an actual team. I am the team for the purpose of doing this task. Although I do have others that are kind of looking at this with me, they're not actively engaged with the day to day of the actual planning yet. So I am associated. I am thinking of this purely as a next feature, which considering the idea of the software is just pure irony. However, I pointed this as a 2, or I estimated this as a 2, not as a 2 hour, a 2, right? Because in terms of effort, it felt the same. But now I've just said something and it's triggered me to think about some behavioral problems. I can go in here and I can repeat the pattern. And as a good developer being asked to do something, I want to be able to assign a team, right? The product team did not raise. I don't think the product team raised it. When a task is created, the assigned user is not relevant. The task is assigned to the team. Should not see an assigned user on a task create. Should see assigned team. Although the system won't ultimately prevent a task from being assigned to a particular user, for following agile practices, then the team should be assigned the work, and the work should be picked up by whoever is available next. Providing a way to assign a task to a user before it's even moved into a working state would encourage this. Mr. Anhorn. Wow. 68 months. Thank you very much. Does very well for Tuesday. How about yourself? And I think we know I've never read the manual. That's charged. So had we sat down and talked about this as developers, as product team, the conversation around this should have gone something along the lines of what happens if you try and assign a user that is not part of the team? Should that be something we do? Should that be something we validate? And in reality, on the client side, we should prevent that, right? But what happens if that? This is oftentimes where I get a little bit stuck on my more strong opinions on validation, right? I do believe that if we have a system that captures data, the options shown, I should not expect for my colleagues or other team members to break the design. I shouldn't be planning for the worst case, i.e., someone's just gone and presented a list of users. Go and replace our reporting platform because clients were want a quick reporting platform. Well, I had a budget and now I have more after clients complained. A quick reporting platform. Fun. I thought you weren't you. Are you in a vertical that really requires that much urgency? Like, what's quick and what's slow right now? Is slow like, oh, it'll take 5 minutes, or is slow, you'll have it tomorrow? So, like I said, I'm always stuck on this sort of stuff because should I assume the worst? And generally my attitude is no, I should assume that I'm going to get exactly what I expect. Purely because the requirement for that list should be passed down the same, right? In a consistent workflow, that's where it would be. Am I likely to do this? Possible. Now, in this case, the user assignment is going to appear in this screen, right? This is not going away. This list right now shows every user, whether they're on a team or not. Also, this needs to have a save button attached now. This live update stuff is not as much fun as I wanted it to be. If the validity of the system is not incorrectly, it's not broken, more it's a general rule, then I might be willing to say, you know, then the validation is done on the client, and if they manage to break it, then it's a screw up, but it can be corrected. In this case, if you actually assign it to a different team, you might lose visibility of this thing. Or if you assign it to a user that's not on the team, you might actually lose visibility, or someone might see something they're not meant to see. So I think I'm going to put validation in here for the user being assigned is a member of the team that this is on. But it brings about another problem. So we go down a rabbit hole here. I've got to consider. They want all their reporting on the front end because they're so tech illiterate and don't get why they can't see if don't get why they can't see if my recipients receive the email right after I hit send to 30,000 users. Why do you care? Or you sent the email, so they want a report to say 30,000 users received the email, or which ones did and didn't. So like SendGrid, like time sensitive. Yeah, sounds like a yeah. I'm yeah. Yeah, I can see that. You think they would be used to a delay in reporting? I mean, what are they? I've got a lot of questions, but it's not right to dig that deep on a stream. Like, I don't know. Managing user expectations is a major problem for a lot of companies, and um, as an organization, the ability to say no, or the ability to relay to the users the real here's why this is not possible. Here's what you should expect. Here's what we can do for you. Give them alternatives. Um, is often lost. Anyway, uh, um, we have a problem. So I want to allow you to assign a team. You should be able to reassign a team as well. That's going to be that's not something I covered here, right? Um, I can say they have it a lot better than they did, but you know how it goes. They see the greatness and now they expect it. Right, but I think that's why a good product team is responsible for uh, juggling, and oftentimes where it falls down, right? um, and I think the sorry, um, our product team is great at that. I just need budge from finance, and they can handle it too. Yeah. So what I was going to say then is, as a lost track, um, oftentimes when companies are brought on board to try and keep them sweet, features get developed quickly, or you know, especially if they're a larger customer, we kind of placate them with allowances and stuff like that, and then they get used to that, and that's a dangerous pattern to get down, right? Where I think once you're a bigger platform, I think you can get away from that a little bit more, and push back on uh, things. But when you're a small platform that's trying to grow, that balance of no, that's not in the interest of the product is a little harder to say, because people use the fact that they are um, in a strong position. Yeah, yeah. So a little harder. Um, sorry, this is this opens up a can of worms. I didn't realize. This is exactly why planning is necessary. Oh dear. Okay, so the the things running through my head right this second are update the relevant components to capture the assigned team. So I go over here and I look at assigned team identifier and assigned user identifier. So this is put task. This is update task. Um, I'm thinking, oh well, I'll just put the assigned team in there, right? So I just have update assigned team, update assigned user. These have checks for whether they should update and whether they should trigger the event, etc. Ultimately, like I said before, with C# 14 coming around, potentially I could move this behind. Well, even now, I don't need C# 14, but now I'm thinking about it. If I wanted to do this properly, I could actually just make these um, properties. But anyway, that's irrelevant to my current flow. The issue is that I'm thinking, oh, well, I want to validate that the user I'm assigning it to is actually on the team that I'm assigned, that it is assigned to. And if I move it to a different team, what does that mean? Right? If I move it to a different team, then shouldn't I remove the user? And should I allow moving at this point? No. This is where comments on here would be good, because then later on I can go back and review this thought pattern. So do I really want to change the update for the team at all? I'm just really setting the assigned user. So it doesn't really matter because I've taken away the add. The update is going to work exactly the same as it does now. Doesn't make a difference. The only thing that I might want to check is when I assign the user, that user is for the team. But I think at this point I have to assume that the user that's seeing this, the user that's being assigned this, is on the team. So we'll have to modify this drop down to filter to people that are on the team that the sprint is for. The reason I'm thinking about that is, well, hold on, if I do it where I can move the team, then there's a lot more behavior there. And right now I've not got an intention to move this off this team. A task is created by the team, so why would it be moved? That's a use case much further down the line. Yeah. So I think for this, we don't need to do anything for the update. And again, this is where comments on tasks are going to be very useful, because if I update the task, it's to assign the user. So task updated, publishers, task publisher, assign user, assign team identifier, task integration event. There you go. So what I got in what I was going through there in terms of thought was, if I want to validate the task, if I want to put on the update task, I want a validator, right, to make sure that the user that is being assigned is actually a member of the team that is there. Then I actually have to have the concept of teams appear in tasks. So that means I have to put a receiver on here to receive the team user team assignments, right? So when it has to have the user, and it's going to capture the user team assignments. So that would be interesting, because I'd have to capture. Basically, I would have to capture this event. Oh, come on. The fun of getting older is I have managed to somehow be very badly affected by arthritis in one finger, and it is particularly difficult to type. Not fun. So I'd have to integrate this event and capture the teams. So for this user, these teams will be available, right? So that would allow me to understand, oh, this user is not on this team, therefore you can't assign this team to this user. So tasks would have to have an aspect of that data stored. It's not a difficult thing to do, but it is more of an extra step. So continuing on with the current pattern of, the user knows better is a little bit simpler for this second. but I am going to have to consider those things later. Because right now, again, if I don't care about the data, I don't care about the data, and I trust that if you're assigning a user, you know that user exists, right? Something else knows that user exists. You're giving me an identifier, it exists. It's not my job to check that. However, in this case, it probably would be wise to say you can't create bad data like that. That is deliberately bad data that can be avoided. Um, the concern there is if that update hasn't gone through yet, if we haven't integrated that event, then it would validate and kick off and say, no, you can't do that. So, yeah, that's why I didn't immediately jump to start writing that code. In reality, I think all we need to actually change here is this event. Because we just need to publish the assigned team as part of the create and as part of the update so that we always have the assigned team. Updating a user on a task is still going to be performed in exactly the same way. We're going to go in here and change the user. The team is then, it's not going, these tasks will only be shown for the current sprint. The current sprint will have a team assigned to it, and that those, it will be by virtue of that. There. So we just need to modify that drop down afterwards to only show the current sprint teams users. That's going to be more difficult than anything else. So include assigned team identifier on integration identifier on integration event on task. So with that done, is that all that this needs? Update the integration event, update the relevant components to capture the assigned team if there's a need. So we haven't changed this, right? This is not necessary at this point. We've removed the assigned user from the add. So now if you can't, now the current code is broken. Until we get that fixed, that is broken. Okay, so let's move that over to done. Update the UI. Assign that to me. So update the model store to record an assigned team, create a team dropdown, update the add task dialog to have an assigned team dropdown, pass the selected team identifier to the service, right? So this is the actual make it work now. And yeah, again, describing the requirement is telling us why, right? And as developers, we should be pushing back and making sure that these requirements are clearer, right? That we are understanding these scenarios. Should we allow a team? Where do we do that? How do we do that? You know, do you want to reassign to a team? Is there any reason why we would update a task to be a part of a different team? Like, what does that look like? Maybe that's a more explicit action. Maybe it's not just an update task. Maybe there is an actual, put of task to team, and that is a separate behavior. So it's a workflow worth going through. Why does some streams just error the moment you click away from them? Like, there's a few streams I just click on, and then is it a DuckDuckGo thing, or is it a yeah, it's errored immediately. Huh, we'll see. I'll leave it on Clayman. So anyway, update the UI. So now with that done, let's go over here, make sure this is pulled. Update this. Stop running because that's gonna that's gonna break things. Let's delete this branch and this branch. Don't like having the noise surround. If you are new to the stream, I know I haven't said this in the last 5 minutes. If you're new to the stream and you have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing, if you want to just see more about what I'm doing, please feel free to join in. There is no expectation that I'm going to get code done. So I'm happy to talk. General appearance, behavior, appearance. That's better. That looks more in line, doesn't it? Appearance and behavior, appearance, Sego UI 20. Oh, actually, I went a little bit past. Radio Patrick, hello, how you doing? How are you doing? That looks smaller. That looks much. Anyway, doesn't really matter. How are things? Okay, so what we're going to do here is update the model store service to record an assigned team, create a team drop down. So this is, well, actually now we can run this side of things and we can go and run this side of things and meet in the middle. So very much hope to get the teams on the tasks working this week and then start to move towards getting the planning screen in place. Still yet to discuss and kind of consider what the planning screen is going to look like. But basically the concept is one of, right now, when you're going into tasking, you know, we add tasks here, right? But that's not what we want to do, right? So the idea would be, because the tasking is a development focus, right? When create a task from the backlog. So, you know, here, when the planning, the product team are ready, they move this to a ready for planning status. Again, these statuses are going to be configurable. That's one thing I've got to kind of figure out. When they move it to ready for planning, it would arrive in a new screen on this tab, a new screen up here, and they say, right, these are ready for planning. So the teams that are assigned to the ready for planning would see those items. Would be the goal, I think. This is missing another component before I can realistically do that. But a team, I think, will be assigned. Yeah. I have some categorization things to align. My thought was that a team would be assigned to a project. That is likely, but a team is a bit more. So a team might be assigned to multiple projects. So basically, it's a filtering thing, right? Where ultimately I want to see the teams. The teams should only see work that they're going to be expected to look at. Which means you could kind of just use those teams as visibility alignments. But basically, see a new screen in here that allows the team to see things that are now ready for planning, so they can review them. They shouldn't be estimating them or tasking them, etc., but they can review them. They know that they're ready. This is work that needs to be looked at, so there is always something to be reviewing. They can add comments. They will be able to do everything else. So again, the focus is on visibility, on preparation, so that the product team has said, yep, this is ready for planning. And if the team says this ain't ready for planning, they can add comments to that effect, and the product team can be made aware that those comments have been added, review them, and yeah. The review date here is one for the product team to be, here's when I next need to look at this thing. So that review date would also be visible on the other screen, to allow them to think through it. Again, trying to make the platform guide the process without actually having a bunch of, what's this project up to? Why isn't this done yet? Where are we with this? Yeah. Okay. So we need to do a Teams drop down. Now we do have in here. Oh, here we go. Rebuilding. So if I go to a user, I can go to here and I can select a team, right? Let's actually assign just to, actually, let's assign them to Delta. So Dominique has been assigned to Delta, Jeffrey is assigned to Quantum and Alpha, and Fred is assigned to Alpha, right? So the goal now is when we go into here, we go to add a task. This is an assigned team, not an assigned user. We do not want to assign a task directly to a user at that point. This should be a thoughtful process. But to do that, we need a Teams drop down, not a Teams multi-select. So components, no. Feature, shared components. Did I put it in this one? I did. Selects, team multi-select. The only thing here is the code is 99% 99% the same. It's just not a multi-select. It's a control, isn't it? So what control we need here is one of these, an autocomplete. So let's create a new component. Team select, skip tests. The thing that tells me that I care about this is the fact that every time I do that, every time I do -- skip tests, I feel guilty about writing it. It just feels wrong to do. But I do not have the talent on this side of the house to be doing those things. Autocomplete is probably more appropriate because we could have many teams. Okay. So most of the code in here is going to be similar to this. So I'm going to take 95% of this code and put it in here. And I'm going to take this. And we're going to take that. Okay. And we are going to do some magic. Okay, so the sprint store with computed. Oh, I made these a mess, didn't I? Oof. Oof. I did not do a stunning job on the design there. Like naming things appropriately. did not go very well. So complete method. So in this case, let's go filter sprints. Let's go to filter teams. Filter teams, store dot sorted. Filtered is an array of team, team, team. We need a filtered teams. I think we have an array up here for filtered teams somewhere. Right? So I did it, yeah. Why I copied and pasted that, I have no idea. I saved myself absolutely 0 time. That's filter teams on teams, team select. Let's do that. That's probably not a, it's an autocomplete select event. And then does it fire on change still? Yeah, but it does do this selected. So we have a model for that. Which we still have there. Okay. It's just a team. We'll worry about this in a second. That's going to be similar. This dot selected dot set event dot right. Do we do the same thing there? Oh, we'll just do this. Oh, what did I just change? I just commented out the wrong thing, didn't I? Yeah. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you're copying and pasting. That should be a single. So this dot selected dot set event dot value, and then I just did this dot selected. Functional equivalent, but it's fine. Unclear. Not sure I need reload at all. Selected team. Do I have a CSS in there? I do not. Okay. We'll worry about that afterwards. ng model. And then we need label. There's probably a really good way of designing these in a common manner. I just don't know it yet. Where did I put that in terms of? I probably put that above selected, didn't I? I'll split that out. Yeah, that's more like me. I don't know, something feels better about putting it, an accessor there. Cancel. Okay. So we have a team select component. Select team. Let's make sure we don't have the word sprint left in here. No. I'm not sure I saved much time in doing that, if I'm being honest. Um, I think I probably spent as much time cleaning up my own mistakes as uh, writing it pretty much myself from scratch. So in our dialogue now, so app, features, tasks, I think this is on the other side. That's the other side. Features, planning, components. Oh no, tasks is its own dialogue, isn't it? Add task is its own dialogue because, yeah. Assigned team. Remove that. So let's go and change the backend part first. Assigned. And this is going to be a team. Let's remove user. Oof. Yeah, we'll worry about some of these things afterwards. Assign team. Assign team. My Angular forms foo is way off. I do mix and match these a little bit too much in terms of how I set them up and when I configure them and whatnot. So yeah. Assign team. Yeah, that's fine. This task has no assigned team. Assigned team is a team. Defined. That's fine. Now over here, we do ls team select. Form control equals assigned team. So what you can do is you can just have form control name, and then I could just use the model and set up the form control all as one, rather than creating distinct fields for every single thing. I don't know whether there's a benefit or either way, but I just gotta figure out, when I'm gonna do that. Did I have an ID on this other field? I did. I think I did. Append to. So append to is used for, as far as I understand it, it's the parent control assignment that basically keeps it with. I hate this problem when I go through opening up dialogues because the positioning of the controls is all relative to a control. So what that's allowed me to do is keep it all assigned to that same group. So it's where in the DOM it appends it, I believe, as I've understood it so far. what was there before? The user select was there. User select will have an append to, and team select will need an append to. Oh, duplicate declaration. Why did? Oh, I did have it. So what are you lying to me for? Why not use it on this one? It is a property of the autocomplete. So yeah, it's out of scope of the current template. But there you go. Okay. This is probably all sorts of confused now. Well, probably not. So let's go to add a task, select a team. There we go. New task assigned to team alpha. Come on, appear. No, you don't want to appear. That means it broke. I know why. I know why it broke, because I didn't finish actually doing the code, did I? So when I save the task to the store, I call add on the task store, and that calls add on the service. And this has an assigned team identifier. Now, let's go here, add a task, assigning task to team alpha. Oh, didn't like that either. Invalid column name, assigned team identifier. You know what helps? So one thing I probably shouldn't do there is I should not close that dialog until I've saved it, because in this event, it's just lost. I should close on successful save to the back end. But we need to do some changes here. So if we go to tasks, tables, tasks, we will see that we do not have an assigned team identifier, which is quite correct. New column. Again, I do this every time. I say this every time, but in SQL Server, you are not able to you're not able to reorder columns or insert a column after another one, to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so it's a nullable field, assigned team identifier. Yeah, I've spelled it right. We do that. Then we're going to script that out, and we are going to Create a new folder. Tasks. Add file 001. Add assigned team task. That's equal. So right now I'm assuming that the scripts have been running in the right order. Once I get to a good point, what I'll probably do is snapshot the database as a set of scripts, and keep that as a point in time reference. So the release right now it's cumulative, right? You have to run this, you have to go through everything here. But once I do the next release, I think again, learning what I need to do. Snapshot all the databases as it creates scripts, and then set it as a version, and keep these as archives. Oftentimes these processes are on the whim of someone else, or on the team, and the evolved processes that you've not had a hand in. Going through this for the first time for myself, well, first time in a long time for myself, is allowing me to just experiment with some of the opinions I have on these things. But anyway, so right now, if you were to run all the scripts, you're going to end up with assigned team identifier after estimate, right? So the ordering of things is going to look weird. However, that should mean that assigning task to alpha, this task should be assigned to team alpha. That's fine. Go here, select alpha, create, assign task to alpha. That suggests it got there. Assign task to alpha. And the other one got there as well. Oh, the other two got there. So they all completed, which is weird. The first one didn't get assigned, but then the next two definitely got assigned to a team. No user. So there we go. Yeah, which is good, which is good progress. So with an assigned team, that's awesome. Now I think other parts of the application shouldn't be broken because we've always allowed nullable user, right? But again, it's something you've got to consider. What does it mean to have assigned here? Do I want to put an assigned drop down in this one? What do I put in next? And again, if you do have any questions, thoughts, opinions on what I'm doing in here, please feel free. So the next piece of this is to go and receive that and capture that in the view side. So I know that it's assigned to a team. So you notice that in here, when I updated the task, I put assigned team on there. When this gets queried back out, that's going to be null, as is the user now, because I'm not actually dealing with the other side of it. And again, because of the design of the system, what I've done there is from the client, I've captured the value, gone to the tasks side of things, saved the assigned team. That's hopefully published out to Kafka. We'll verify that in a second. Why is that there? Why did you get put there? Yeah, so it's got published out to Kafka, and then the view needs to pick it up, and that's the next piece to be done. Unfortunately, that will not be today. Topics. So if we go to tasks, we should see a task, and it has no. No, there you go, assigned. Oh, they all publish at once because they all, for some reason, it's like the back end, something in the process caches, like holds on to these requests. So the moment that one succeeds, it's like they retry automatically. But I don't remember ever putting any sort of retry in there. Oh, no, because they all failed. Yeah, we saw this behavior with Findle the other day. He tried to create something and it didn't work. He tried it again and again and again, and it then went through. So anyway, oh, is that actually Findle stream? Oh, I know where we're heading today. Probably conversation about build. Um, yeah, if you're not aware and you are into the .NET space, Microsoft Build uh, conference is going on this week. Lots of interesting topics. A lot of AI, which I'm not. I understand that it's a part of what we are going to do in the future. I understand there's certain aspects of it, but I just wish there was more around other libraries than just AI, like tooling and stuff. And I see some of them, but they're all based around um, in-person talks. But yeah, so I'll continually review that this week and see what if I see anything of great interest. I'm going to watch some of the um, LLM talks because again, I think it would be unwise to ignore the fact that AI is becoming a part of what we do, and to just put my head in the sand and say, "Oh no, I don't want to move on," like some grumpy old guy, is not really healthy. I think I have to embrace what the technology can become. I just don't want to lose what I do. So yeah, with that being said, if you like .NET content, um, One Line is a fellow .NET streamer. Um, Works on Blazor and other technologies, shows his work stuff. He's working. He streams Wednesdays through Fridays right this second, with an awesome community days on Friday, which is a great place to go and hang out and chat and listen to some opinions from other people. But they are opinions. So yeah. But anyway, um, I love hanging out. I love this community. I think there's a lot of really great people that I would relish the opportunity to work with as well. But for now, that is what I'm going to do today. I will get this in if I can get it done today. I'm going to get it done later on today so I can move on from this and start to build out sprints and stuff. Um, um, so I recently introduced AI reviews at our place. One of our teams was skeptical, and one manager expressed to me that if they're skeptical, perhaps you should. Ooh. Um, I'll give you. I'll show it. Let me see if it remembers. Um, I don't want to run over too much. Not something I can do today. But I did a PR on associating user with teams. I've got Copilot reviews enabled on the client side. Um, if they get fired because I'm not AI positive, then I probably didn't want to work at the company in the first place. So Copilot will give you some things, right? Um, Again, it's reviewing it. Um, um, in an interesting way. Here it's saying user single response and user response interfaces may not include these fields. Update the response types. It's not understanding the context of the code here because this, and this contain a user which does contain those fields. So it's a little bit confused on what it's actually working on. The amusing thing here is this was an AI suggestion anyway. so it's conflicting. Um, so to the point of it can it can save time. It can also waste time because to review these errors, and you can't have a conversation. You can't ask this further questions. Um, I can't reply and get an answer back. Yeah, values deciding what to build. I right now my favorite use of AI is the rubber duck. It's the bouncing ideas off of and helping me go, maybe guides me to go and look something up or guides me in a particular direction to answer some questions. That is my favorite use of it, is to not use it to rely solely upon. But yeah. Um, but you know, it's going to take time to review these things. So the bigger the PR, the scarier these are going to get to actually review. Um, that being said, it might actually help focus in some respects, but it does require context still. So I don't think it necessarily saves time. Um, it's like having a nice junior and mid dev next to me helping me refactoring language internals and code review. Yeah, it's to one line's very well put point. It is a tool. It is a tool in the tool belt. I don't debate that. The Visual Studio channel yesterday, they discussed why we would need to see the code at all in the review or at all. Like just let the code go. Um, oh, no, nope. I don't trust it well enough. And again, if I'm just saying, hey, please write this, no, I don't want to do that. And if I get fired for not wanting to do that, then whatever. That is a thing. But anyway, I cannot be a thing for very long. To be honest, in the future, we should be. I'll let you guys bring up the conversation now. To be honest, in the future, we should just be able to speak natural language commands to a computer and have it just understand the programming language. I don't want to do that. Part again, like I said to one line, um, what I like is this. I like understanding this. I like building this. I like solving a problem. Talking to a computer and having it do what it thinks I mean is not what I'm interested in. And right now, I don't think it's smart enough. And it might be able to produce the initial thing, but what happens when there's bugs? I don't like minimal APIs. You, I was going to swear then. You went away before you even got to talk about that. But anyway, um, well, as the problem we continually hit is requirements are often lost in the language. They're assumed. There's assumptions that people make. So we're asking a computer to do something. When you make assumptions about what it will decide, it's going to become very strange to work with. But we'll see. But anyway, I have a raid target that I don't often have, so we're going to go raid Findle. I have to run though because I've got to get work started. Um, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll be moving on to the sprints tomorrow, assigning the teams to the sprints, or creating the team, like creating the sprint for the team, and then being able to assign the tasks to the teams. Um, so we'll start to get that list of this filtered down by who you are and stuff tomorrow, and like what teams you're assigned to, because you shouldn't see every task for teams you don't have. And then we'll start to build out that functionality a little bit more, and things will become clearer. Um, but for now, that is me. Um, as always, if you like this sort of if you like the conversation around the AI stuff, the Discord is always there. I'm always happy to chat about stuff offline or online if I'm in the voice chat. But also, one line stream on Friday is a great place to go and hang out and talk about this sort of stuff because he does actively encourage and engage in this sort of conversation. So I wouldn't say encourage. I wouldn't say encourage. Allow, uh, and facilitate. But yeah. But anyway, let's go raid Thindle. He's starting up. He started up his stream, which is a rare time. So we'll go raid him. I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for the chat. As always, take care. Have a good rest of your day. Bye all.